Hey, what is up guys, and welcome to my initial review of No Man's Sky. Just to clarify, I'm not going to be telling you straight up whether the game's good or bad. I'll let you decide that for yourselves, but I will try and show you parts of the game that are somewhat lacking, and also parts that might make it worth playing. So first off, we'll start with my favorite part of the game, and that would have to be the creatures. Based on what I've seen, they've got a great variation in the way they look, but honestly, looks can be deceiving, because in this game, I'd say at least 90% of the creatures I came across acted the exact same way, and in the wrong way, at least in my opinion. I mean, take a look at this guy. He's awesome, right? But why the hell is he not eating me? Way too many of the creatures in this game are friendly, and a lot of the time, you'll land on a planet without a single hostile creature. Maybe it's just me, but wouldn't it be cooler if this is the other way around, and most of the creatures were out to get you? I think it would make so many of your actions that much more tense. Imagine when you land on a planet, you'd have to hope you're not landing in some kind of nest of man-eaters, and then when you finally do run across that friendly creature, it would just make it that much sweeter. Now, what I do enjoy about finding these things, whether they're friendly or not, is actually getting to scan them and getting to name them in the end. I'd say it definitely feels like a nice accomplishment each time, especially when it's the last one you have left to discover on a certain planet, but I should warn you, it's not like each planet has as many as you'd think. Remember way back when there was talk of staying on one planet for an immense amount of time, trying to find every form of life and all there was to learn about them? Well, honestly, unless you enjoy spending weeks looking at the same 6 or 7 species, that's probably not how you're going to play the game. So you might be asking, what else is there to do on planets? And I can honestly say there is quite a bit, but I'll leave deciding how repetitive it gets up to you. So obviously you can find and discover various creatures, and also plant life as well. Hell, I've even seen more hostile plants than I have hostile creatures. You're also going to come across crashed ships on planets, sometimes with no other forms of life, and that really makes the feeling pretty cool. Also, if you feel like the ship might look better with you sitting in it, you could always fix it up and leave your old one there to take its place. Aside from that, though, the other main thing to do is locate various outposts, and this seems fun at first until you realize they're all basically the same. And there are even more unique ones that have been abandoned and taken over by the environment, but once you realize every planet has the exact same looking thing, it does kind of kill the excitement. Lastly, in terms of exploring planets, you can choose to explore their surface, or go in search of other elements underground and large cavern systems. And as cool as those sound, I still think they could have been done so much better. Oftentimes you'll find yourself fleeing into cave systems to escape the cold or toxic air. But if you're doing it, then why the hell aren't the other creatures? It would really make a cool, nice contested area that could end up being more dangerous than the world outside. And you could argue that they're just used to the hostile environment and have adapted to it over time, but I still wish they would have put at least a few more threats down there, especially considering that most of the rare elements tend to be down there. I've only counted one instance where there was a creepy looking hostile spider type thing at the opening of a cave, so I ventured in hoping to fight my way through even more of them, and as I'm sure you've all guessed by now, it was completely empty. But anyways, moving on, let's just go ahead and address the major issue that came up almost as soon as the game launched, and that's its supposed multiplayer. Many of you have most likely heard by now that 2 players met up and couldn't actually see each other. Not only that, but their planets were also in different time zones. And sadly, I don't think anyone knows for sure just yet whether this was a server issue or if multiplayer just really isn't in there. Because just being able to see other players' stats or discoveries doesn't make a game multiplayer. Take for instance a game like Shadow of Mordor, where if an orc killed your friend in their game, you could try and avenge him by killing the same orc in your own instance. But at no point could you actually fight side by side with your friends, so they didn't call it multiplayer. So if seeing what your friends name things is all you can do in No Man's Sky in terms of multiplayer, then it really is not multiplayer. And honestly, this isn't a huge deal to me personally, because if that's the case, then why not give players even more options to change variables like size or hostility rates of creatures, or even the randomness of worlds and their structure? Because someone like me who hates seeing these giant rocks that look like snakes might actually appreciate an option for a more rounded out mountainous type world. And also, what the fuck are these things, and how the hell did they get into space? I get it, they're space stations, but I wouldn't bet a penny on something like this ever making it out there, let alone flying. And if it's explained by the end game, then so be it, but even that wouldn't help the fact that the outsides all look way too similar, let alone the insides, which are the exact same in every case. Now, ships, on the other hand, aren't half bad. They all have a decent amount of variation, which I'm pretty sure increases as you travel further through the galaxy. And I think the same goes for alien life forms. Some wear helmets, and for all you know, they're the same race as you, and others are big, brutish-looking creatures that look like they've just came out of a bar from Star Wars. Oh, and there's also a huge problem when it comes to trading with these alien life forms, which you just can't do if your inventory's full. I don't get it. I can see how that would be a problem if you're buying stuff from them, but if you're trying to get rid of things, why does it matter if you have space or not? But moving on to combat and flying, all I can really say is that it's a mixed bag. Taking down your first ship feels fun and mischievous, but when you have to fight multiple Sentinel ships that can easily do a complete 180 in the blink of an eye, you might not see the point of risking it. The flying in this game is just way too simplified for someone like me to ever enjoy it. I mean, seriously, why can't I crash? At this point, I actually want to crash. Coming into this game, I was hoping to take risky flight paths through canyons, but no matter how hard you push down, your ship never even comes close to hitting the planet's surface, which a lot of people might be okay with, but for me it sucks, and the thrill is just taken right out. By the way, no spoilers, but I'll try and cover how I think the story stacks up. So from what I've played so far, you can learn the languages to help communicate with alien races, but the main goal is to make it to the center of the universe. And if I had to compare it to anything, I think it would be Minecraft, in the sense that it gives you a lot of freedom, but in this case, maybe not as much freedom as you might have thought. At least based on what I've played, you get to follow a very linear galaxy map that leads to the center, instead of being able to branch out in all directions. Apart from those topics though, there are also a few bugs and other problems here and there, such as poor frame rate on PC. I'd say almost as bad as Batman Arkham Knight in some cases. Also, I've had my game lose hours of progress and put me at a save from way before. But to sum everything up, I'd say No Man's Sky has a great foundation, but that's really all it is. Once again, why not take away limitations while flying, or give us more hostile creatures? Why not hostile humanoid type things, like you and me, that could try carrying a gun? Just giving players more stuff to do in general would make it so much better. Anyways, that just about wraps it up, so hopefully this gave you guys a good idea of whether or not you should pick up No Man's Sky. I wouldn't say it's a bad game, but for something that's $60, I think it could have been so much more. That being said, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you thought down in the comments, and as always, I will see you in the next one.